happening? Kyle Postawait, aka Malker, here at Big Kitty Games. Just got the patch out, had another little bug I caught last night right before bed, so I decided to wait until morning, but it takes about an hour to patch, so I was busy doing that in the wee hours. Still definitely want to look at sky and fog colors, but I thought I'd do that later, and instead try to plug in some of the new foliage that I've got for ocean, desert, and mountain biomes. I've got like a red eye thing going on, but you probably can't tell because of my glasses. Pretty hay feverish out here lately. I want to basically snag all of these guys and stick them in. The only problem with these is the guy that developed them cut the faces off all of the bottoms, which, you know, it's not a bad idea, but it's a bad idea. When you're looking at it from the top, if it's totally flat ground, you can't even see what I'm looking at, can you? Basically, if you're looking at it from the top, it's on a nice flat piece of terrain, looks good. You go underneath it, there's no faces. Problem with this being, if this is sticking on anything that isn't flat ground, sometimes this is the center, gets put on flat ground, and then this part's overhang, which is fine, looks good, but now this guy's got no faces there, so we can certainly draw those faces in if we want to. I don't think I'm going to be doing that, though. So I'm going to do two things. Hey, Stopnut, what's happening? First thing I'm going to do is plug some of these in to the mountain biome. And then I'm going to write a little script for them to rotate themselves to match the normal of the terrain that they're put on. Which isn't a guarantee fix, but it's, it's like an 80% fix. Make sure that they're not sticking out at the worst angle possible. It'll give them the best chance to not be spotted, but there will still be spots where they will be spotted, unfortunately. But a good start, and then we ultimately I'll want to patch them up so they're not like that. But let's see. I want to go to prefabs, procedural prefabs, and decorations. And let's see. I'm going to want to call these are getting a little bit disorganized. I think I'm going to call it Mountain Stump 1. And let's go ahead and set him up. Let's see. Well, Unity doesn't have any errors. It just means that you're not clear on what you're supposed to be doing yet. It's definitely a much bigger beast than Game Maker Studio. So it's got a much steeper learning curve, but that's really it. It is more complicated, definitely, but it just means you need to spend a little extra time with it if you want to get into it. I want to look at snowy tree spawn rate 1400. So I want these guys to not. Actually, I think there's a blend, isn't there? 1080. 805 to 1080. No, that's not what I meant. There we go. 1430. So I want these guys to go 805 to 1430. Don't need any of that. And I don't need any of that. I think I'd set that up too on, yeah, we don't want those dead trunk. What were the, I set up a bunch of new rocks in the grass biome. Where did those go? Put them on the rocks? No, I did. Yeah, I don't actually, these aren't actual rocks, so I don't want to use the stone spawn multiplier. These are decorations. That's why they're basic resources. Honestly, we should move those up here. 'Cause they're not... Anyway. But yeah, Unity's got a lot of tutorials. To the point that there's some that are bad. You know, because there's so many of them. But, much bigger community than any other game development software, by far. Got these at 8 in the swamp. That's not what I wanted to look at. What about the stumps in the grass? These are at 1. Okay, so I'll leave these at 1, 2. Size only needs to be 1-ish. Mountain stump, and then I'm going to just feed this into here. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I want to get all of these in, so let's do 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Yeah, Brackeys is really good. They blew up, got really popular because there were very good tutorials, and they actually shut the channel down at the end of last year because they just made so much money and were so popular that they said, okay, we've done all we wanted to do, we're going to move on to do something else. And you can't blame them for that. There's a lot of good tutorials still on that channel. We'll be there forever, so can't blame them for that. So this will spawn all of these guys. I guess the only thing left to do would be to add them to our procedural prefabs manager. Wherever these small decorations are. I don't actually have anything in there yet. Medium decorations. Sure, I'll put them in there. No big deal. I want to lock this so I can select all of these guys that we just made. Drag them in there. And this is what actually controls looking for stuff to spawn. So that's good in there. I'm going to change these to medium decorations. And now I want to write just a little script, and I kind of think that I already have one. Let me just do a search for normal. There's going to be a bunch of normal maps show up. But I'm looking for a script. So I don't think that I have. Normal solver, that's not it. Yeah, I don't think that I have one. There is a script similar to what I'm trying to do, though, called, well, let's see, I know that it's on, for example, hi kitty, should be under effects and ice spikes. We've got fade to ground. So this is similar to what I want to do, so I'm going to open that up. Then I'm actually going to make Let's see what folder to put it in. I'm going to have this align stuff. Oh yeah, 32 will be enough. I would say you want at least 16. I mean, you can do it with 8, but not big projects. So kind of the next step above 8 would be 16. 16 should be enough. And then your CPU is what's really important, more than the GPU. GPU is important for running the game nice, but for actually compiling it and building it and stuff, you want to have a good CPU. Makes a big difference, because every time you make a change and you switch back, you need to let it compile. And the longer that takes, the longer you're waiting, times 10,000 over the course of several months. So if you can get that down from even just 5 seconds down to 3 seconds, it makes a big difference. CPU is very important. Don't really just have a folder for this, so I guess I'll just put them at the top for now. So I'm going to call this guy align to normal. And basically, I'm going to do kind of what this guy does. So let's just copy his stuff over here. Don't need this kind of stuff though. It's not actually what I was looking for at all. Oh well, I thought that was no big deal. Basically what I want to do is I want to cast a ray. So I'm going to make a new ray. Ray equals new ray. We're going to go from the transform.position plus, and we can just go up 1, should be fine, which would be vector 3 up. And I thought it was origin and direction. Oh, it's direction. Vector 3, and that's not a plus, that's a common. No, yeah, this was plus, sorry. And then our direction is vector 3 down. And then we're going to physics.raycast that. Excuse me while I sneeze. Allergies. If physics raycast ray, and we're actually going to need a raycast hit called hit. Doesn't need to be declared. Don't remember the order that this all goes in. What do we want here? We do want a layer mask, distance, all of that. Max distance can be, we'll just put it at 10. We wouldn't expect it to go more than 2, to be honest. So we can do that. We're starting at just 1 above the current position. Let me know if all this noise in the background is being annoying. I don't think the mic will pick it up too much, but it might be. My wife's stomping around doing things. She has the day off. Anyway, and we want to minimize the performance on this as much as possible. So you always want to do a very small distance, as small as you can. You don't want to just set this to infinity like a lot of tutorials will do. And you also always want to define a layer mask. So I have a static class that keeps track of all my masks. and I want to do the terrain and world encounter mask. So this will only collide with either terrain or world encounters. If it does, it's going to populate our raycast hit here, and we're going to use that to rotate our object to align with whatever it hit. So basically, I think we can set it like so. Let's say hit dot normal. And this is going to be a vector 3, so the normal of the surface the ray hit. We actually do this with our mushrooms in the caves, so we could peek at those, because it's a little weird math. Quaternions versus Eulers versus this and that. So let's see, cave, marching cubes, normal gets used somewhere down here, I think. If use normal, up equals hit dot normal, and then rotate around. Well, that doesn't make any sense to me. This normal math stuff is really confusing though. Set up spawned resource. Set look rotation. Hit dot normal. I think that is what we're looking for. So let's give that a try. So I'm just going to plug that script onto all of these stumps. Missing a parentheses here. I'm just going to plug that onto I can't actually, yeah, you can see what I'm chatting here, huh? They are so it's actually all of these guys. And let's open one of them up and take a peek. They do have mesh colliders. That's fine. I'm gonna want that to be convex, probably. Yeah, definitely. Let's take a peek at these all real quick here. I have gizmos off. There we go. You lose some quality there, but it's much faster, and I don't need that quality, honestly. Firewood 2, and they don't have modality 1, right? Okay. Save log 2, log 3. This one might be a little funky, but that's not terrible. We might keep that. Yeah, that's a little weird. You'd be standing on that. I'll leave this one as is. Log 3, trunk rooted. These ones too I might need to. It's not a big deal. This one definitely will. And then also, let's back out of that guy, and we want all of these to be on our... Oh, it's not going to let me do that? Shoot. Oh, no, it is. I was looking at the wrong thing there. We want to make sure these are all on the right layer. So these are going to be on resources layer. And we can go ahead and add harvestable tree to all of these. Actually, I think it's a basic resource. There we go. And these are going to be timber, but they're all going to be basic, no matter where they are. What are you doing, kitty? Minimum reward of 5 to 10. Timber reward multiplier. Cannot be rare. Is basic. No special rewards. And then we want to add the align to normal script that we just built, and I just spotted an align to ground. That's probably what I was actually looking for. It's doing the exact same thing, isn't it? Align to ground. Get array cast. Building and terrain mask or world encounter mask. Transform.forward equals hit.normal. Well, that's being used somewhere else, so that's not actually quite what we want. Should be all working now, though. Let's go up in the mountains, give it a see, what we can see. Should be spawning since we plugged it into the procedural manager there. No fighting, kitties. Staring each other down. Tabi-chan? Tabi-chan? Huh? 今みたいにね。その時は鼻を息を止めて苦しくなるまでね。うん。で、そしたらアレルギーって鼻に異物が入ってまずいってなるじゃん。うん。それよりも息ができないって脳の方に血流が回っていくから息を止めてその後に鼻つまんで。まあね。でもいいや。Wife giving advice on how to clear your nose based on tricking your brain into prioritizing oxygen over allergies by holding your breath. So anyway, here's one of these guys. And yeah, I think it is the forward normal that we want. Anyway, I'll save right here. Yeah, I think I rotated all the mushrooms so that they were on their side. It's really counterintuitive to me, this normal work. But transform.forward equals, what was it, aligned to ground. Where is that guy? Terrain? No? Building? I don't know where he is. But I can find out easy enough. Aligned to ground. Take me to your leader. He is under skills. Yeah, that's the script I was looking for, actually, not the move down script. This is the one I was looking for. This will move ice spikes and stuff so that they're properly aligned on the ground. So, in all honesty, we don't need this, but we do want this. So I guess that is all we need. We'll compile that and look at that same stump again. The only difference with this guy is he's moving it up just a tad, because that's actually, like for the stomp little graphic that pops up there, if it's right on the ground it flickers, so you have to move it up just a little bit so the camera can render it properly. No, that didn't work though. Oh, wait. Yeah, no, that didn't work. So, hold on. Let's take a closer look. So, align to ground. Change to this. So, we should be going straight down. Transform dot forward equals hit dot normal. See, and that makes sense to me. Because really what we want is transform up to equal the hit dot normal. So bear with me for my trial and error here once more. And again, this is the majority of what you need your PC to be good at, because you need to recompile all the time. And I've got a huge solution. There's 170,000 lines of code or something like that. So it takes a long time, which is still, it's 4 or 5 seconds. But on my computer before I built this one, it was getting up to like 11, 12 seconds. You know, and if you have to do that every minute sometimes to try and get things like this to work properly for testing, becomes a real problem. So there we go. The point being, he's not sticking straight out, so I can't super obviously look at his bottom faces that are missing, even though he is now out here all nice and good, and I can get rid of him if I want to. They're basic resources, so they won't clutter up the way. Makes the mountains look a little better. I'm actually going to turn them all up a bit, because one is a little low. Let's go with I'll just do 2. And I'm going to add a bunch more stuff now that we've got that working as well. For example, let's take a peek, see what we got. Fallen trunks, there's also these stumps that are very nice. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And same deal with all of these guys. They don't have their back faces. Aligning trunks this extremely to the ground can look a little weird sometimes. You know, the trees looks like it was growing out like this, but that honestly, that does happen. Let's go ahead and plug them all in. See how they do. So there's 11 of them. So I'm going to make 7 plus 11 would be 18. Scale this up to 18. And we might want to turn the spawn rate back down to 1 when we're done with these, but we'll see. Haven't changed the name on them, doesn't actually matter. But let's see here. Stump 1, stump 2, stump 3, stump 4, stump 5. The amazing excitement of video game development. Watch as I drag my mouse between multiple windows with deft perception. Not sure what I was trying to say there. Deft precision. That's the word I was looking for. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And then, of course, on all of these, we want to add our two little scripts. Just select them all once and do add align to normal, as well as harvestable basic resource. Once again, we want to make sure these are all timber. 5 to 10 reward. And this is going to be timber reward multiplier. Cannot be rare, is basic. And then we just need to plug into, once again, our... Where is he? Prefab manager. Medium decorations. I'm going to lock him so I can select the new ones. 8 to 18. Drag them into here. And now those guys will all be spawning too. Let's take a quick peek at their colliders. Let's see. Gonna have to open them up to peek. Capsule, sphere, cube. I guess so. Capsule, sphere, cube, cube, capsule, capsule. Yeah, these aren't bad. Mesh. How about convex? For you, sir. 9. Mesh. Convex might not be too good for this guy. Not too bad, though. I think I'll go with it. This guy's definitely going to want to be as is. Preferably, you would add a few primitive colliders here. Get like a capsule, a capsule, a capsule, and then maybe a square for some of this base. Is always preferable to these complex mesh colliders. But, again, modern computers are quite capable nowadays of dealing with even this slightly more difficult stuff. How about some rocks to go with it all? And even the rocks are missing their back faces. And that's really unfortunate because rocks work a little better when you rotate them around randomly. So that's a bit of a bummer. I'm going to leave a review for this guy's assets, commenting that a lot of games are not just flat ground where you want to be sticking this stuff, but you know, 3D. Let's look at 2D. That's different. 3C, 3D, 3E. Okay, so maybe I'm just looking for the D series with the moss on it. Mossy rock 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Those will definitely look better. So let's plug those in as well. So these are going to be... Oh, I got my scriptable object errors showing up, huh? I haven't actually noticed that, but this is caused by exporting. You need to get stuck in this mode every time I export a patch until I reboot it once. Not a big deal, though, until it starts funking out, which it hasn't yet. Let's call this Mountain Rock 01. And that should all be the same. So I'm going to make 6 plus 4. I'm going to make 10 of these. I'm at an amazing 0 viewers right now. It's a little depressing. But not necessarily the reason I'm here to be doing this. Just keeps me motivated to keep working on this stuff. So I'm gonna feed these in here. Nope, that's not what I wanted. Mossy Rock 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then I want the D series for these guys. So 1D, 2D, 3D, and 4D. And then I want to select all of those. And actually, what did we just do a second ago? We did stumps. I did not switch these guys to our decorations layer. So let's do that real quick. Resources layer, actually. Alright. Now, I'll check the colliders for these guys here in a second. 2D, 3D, 4D. These guys are also on the resources layer. I want to add a harvestable basic resource. Hi, kitty. What's the matter? Align to normal. And these are going to be stone. Using the stone multiplier. That's not it. Stone reward multiplier. Once again, 5 to 10 because these are just going to be basic. Like so. And we should be good. Just now need to plug them into the manager. We plugged the stumps in, so once again lock him, grab the rocks, feed them in. And just one more thing before we take a peek at it. Oh, I did want to look at the colliders here. Yep, you're good as convex. That could be sphere probably, but not a big deal. Mossy Rock 2, that's a funky one. Might not work as convex, but yeah, that's fine. Mossy Rock 3, convex, please. And this, again, it just makes calculating it a lot easier on the computer. Whoever's computer that might be. There's no interior crevices in this case. You can see it, how it blends the outside there. If I turn that off, there's, what do you call it? Inlets, kind of. And that's a lot harder to calculate if it has to account for those. So this just turns all of those off to make sure it's either in or out is all it has to really try and calculate. And last but not least, our D series. That's a funky one. And last but not least, 4D. Okay. Now I just want to add some of these ferns in real quick. Where are they at? Here we are. Particles standard surface shader. Seems like an odd choice of shaders. Let's just make sure they're... not sure if that is going to be faster. Particle shader though, that should be pretty good. I'm assuming that already is capable of instancing if it's a particle shader, because that's what we want. Make sure the GPU is instancing that stuff properly. So we've got a series of ferns. What's the difference here? 1 and 2, A and B look the same, but they're a little different colored. Let's put them next to each other and take a look. 1A and 1B. They look the same, but this guy, what's different here? This guy's just a little darker? Is that all this is? 2A, 2B, 3A, 3B. Looks like they're just different shaders on them. I'm going to back out, discard changes, and just go with the A series. So 4 of them. So these are going to be decorations again. We'll call them mountain ferns. That should be all the same. These are going to want to be... One of my cats is going nuts. Just climbed up one of the sliding doors. Cats will be cats. Oops, that's not what I meant. This guy, spawn rate's probably going to want to be more like 10. Probably even more than that. We'll turn it up here in a minute though, depending on what we need. So there's 4 of these, I believe. 1, 2, 3, 4. Number 1 being fern 1A. Fern 2A. Fern 3A. And fern 4A. Now, these guys do not have colliders. They don't even have LODs. But they're being treated as particles. So do they have a... I do still want them to have a fade out distance, you know. I don't want to be rendering them when they're only a pixel big. Currently the way that I'm thinking about placing them would be to allow them to actually be harvestable. You just get, they'd be like a basic stock resource. So you could get a little bit of stock every time you chop one down. That can be a little bit annoying, but it can also be a little bit rewarding. The alternative would be to make them part of the grass system, where if you put a building down, they stop spawning. I think I'll leave them like this though. So they're harvestable, in which case I need to add just a little, let's say sphere collider. I want to make sure these are all on the resources layer, and that the sphere collider is a trigger so you don't get stuck on it. And I believe the radius can be quite tiny. Let's put it at 0.5. These should all be 0, 0, 0. And let's see how that looks. Do I have to reopen them? Yeah, so this is the interactable space, but it's a trigger, so you won't actually run into it. It just will work if your mouse goes over it. And then we will add... the question being, do we want these to align to the ground or not? Again, I'll go ahead and align them to the ground for now, and if they look funky, we'll turn that off. So these are harvestable basic resources. The resource is going to be stocks, using the stock reward multiplier. Can't be rare, is basic. Let's just do like 2 to 5 for these guys. And that should be it. So, one last thing. Just need to plug those into the procedural manager. And we're good for a test. Mountain Fern, 1 through 4. And I've added the rocks and everything else, so we should be good. Let's unlock everything and take a peek. So we've got 11 types of stumps. How many rocks was it? 8 rocks, 4 ferns. Those plants are a little funky. I don't like that shader, honestly. I think it's unlit particle shader. But it is nice to have more clutter, definitely. Probably want to scale the rocks up quite a bit and increase the spawn rate of the ferns by a lot. But I'm going to go in and look at that shader because I don't think that that is what it should be. So those guys are using this fern shader. Well, let's just try and see what happens when I change one of them, because they're just, you do want them two-sided. I think that's an option in the standard shader, though. Let's take a peek. So he is particles standard surface. I'm going to switch him to standard cutout. So see, the back isn't there, but I believe there's a setting for that. No. Guess not. I'm not a shader guy, unfortunately. How about a nature manufacturer? Shader. No, well, that's not too bad. It is doing front and back face as expected. Definitely want GPU instancing on, and I want to turn the wind way down. I really don't like that wind at all, to be honest. But a little bit is better than nothing, I suppose. Wind, shiver, drag. I just don't even, there we go, that's better. So they move a little bit. I'm going to go even less than that. So they look better than just sitting there, but I don't like it when they get too funky. I don't quite know what these settings do. Drag, that's not too bad. It's this shiver drag that I don't like. There we go, just a little bit of wind. Okay, and let's turn the dry color down even a little bit more so we get some extra variation on the colors for these guys. And that should be good. It's a better shader, I'm pretty sure. And let's go back to those prefabs and turn these all up to, say, more like let's go nuts. Do 50. 50 times 4, so that'll be 200 in 128 meter space. That sounds like a bit much, but we'll check it out. And the other thing we were talking about was churning the rock scales up a bit. So all of these guys, let's put them all up to like 5, probably even more, but we'll do 5 for starters. Nobody likes a small rock. Four, 5, 6, and our D series. Two D, 3D, and last but not least, 4D. Okay, let's take another peek at that. So bigger rocks, lots more ferns, better shader for the ferns. Ferns aligning to the ground. Might look a little weird. I still don't like that shader too much. No, yeah, that is a lot better. It's getting shadows, and some of them are dark. Maybe a little too dark. We want to churn the cutout up, I think. Maybe not. Maybe a little big, not really. Some of these just look too bright to me. Let's open that shader up in runtime. And churn the healthy color down. Let's see though, I do still, let's see, mask clip value, let's turn that up a little bit more. Don't look like the best sprites, to be honest. 0.6, healthy color, dry color, bump scale. Smoothness is all the way off. Turn that up a little bit. Still not as many as I was expecting. Can be harvested. Some of these logs are a little small too. Rocks are looking better though. I like these big rocks. Maybe a little big, but I like when you're looking out here and there's stuff all over. Some of those LODs need to be... Did I just see one of those pop? Yeah, that guy's popping right here. So I'll have to look at the LODs a little bit. I'm going to turn the time back to noon to get a little bit better picture. I want these trees to be a little more varied too. They're either kind of dark or they're bright green. I do like variation, but might have to edit the original stuff there a bit. And these guys still just look a little bit too... What's the word I'm looking for? You know, like too thick, too vibrant for a mountain scenario. But maybe the real problem is a lack of green in the grass. So there's certainly not no green in the mountains. Anyway, it's looking better. Definitely looking better. I think I need a little bit more variety in the trees, to be honest. I don't think that these trees that came with this pack are going to be what we're looking for, though. They're just more conifers. Juniper wouldn't be bad. Let's see how these look. I'm going to just toss one in here in runtime. Juniper 1, let's scale him up a little. Juniper 2, that guy's tiny too. How are these guys looking? That's not terrible. Certainly not good. Nature Manufacturer Bark. And let's go with Nature Manufacturer Leaves as well. To get that wind going. Does look a lot better than when they're just standing there. I just like to churn it down a lot. Not the greatest trees though. Probably want to turn the bark color down quite a bit. Quite a bit. And the leaf colors probably as well a little bit. Not bad though, a little too far there. Not pretty, but oh, and then what's that? Too much smoothness there. What's going on there? Maybe I want specular. Oh yeah, that looks a lot better. Again though, these aren't really very good alpha cutouts here, unfortunately. But not bad. Not bad. Pretty small for some reason. I'll go ahead and use them though. That will add some nice variety. How big do we need these? That's still way too small. 444. And the little guy maybe 666. No, how about 10 10 10? It looks a little funky. He's kind of special, if you know what I mean. Where's my movement gizmo? Oh, they're marked as static, so it doesn't want me to touch them. I just want to move this guy a little bit because he's hitting these other trees. I don't think I want to use this guy though, to be honest. He's just a little funky. That cross leaf there is super obvious. The leaves are all, I like this guy though. Yeah. Nah. I don't think I'm gonna use either of those. Not a big deal. So no to the junipers. No to the trees. Ferns are looking better. I do want to add some different kinds of rocks though. Anything that will block, right, auto run. The ferns aren't doing that. The branches on the ground in the swamp. Which are those? Swamp. Stumps. These are... Is it these guys? No. Dead branches. Yeah, I could change these to be, I know they do get in the way a lot. 3 mesh colliders on this guy. Really? That's a little silly. And they're not even marked as convex. That is a bit silly. And they're not triggers. So let's say we change these to be triggers. Well, they certainly don't need to be this. How about just a capsule collider? And we can make it a trigger. So you don't run into it. Hi, kitty. This is the swamp branches. Let's go swamp branches 2. That's not terrible. Still 2 mesh colliders though. I don't like that. I'm getting rid of that. And this, again, it won't impede movement. It's just if the mouse goes over this area, it'll become harvestable. What would that be? Gaseous form or something? Potion of gaseous form. Let you just run through stuff. That would be a little silly, but I don't think anybody would complain about it, you know? If you were running inside of the big rocks, they'd have rendering problems and stuff, but I doubt anybody would actually complain about it for the utility of it. Yeah, that could work too. If you increased the player controller's maximum slope to like 89.9 degrees. Or maybe just a potion of levitate, so you're always like 2 feet off the ground, and you just kind of float up and over anything you run into. And then you'd glide. Anything big you ran over, you'd glide off of it, skipping over stuff. This guy, I think, is more of a box collider. And one more of these. This guy looks like the same, actually. Let's copy the last one. Get rid of all of these. Except he is... I guess he's not really. Not so much Y as X. Kind of like that. Alright, we've added mountain stuff. It's not perfect, but it's a lot better. You know, we'll tweak it over time. What's up, Jack? Well, I'm going to the desert right now, so I can look at what you're talking about. There is a bit of a problem with the pack that I downloaded, that I bought. Mexican Desert Pack. It uses shaders that are not compatible. So I need to upgrade these just a little bit. I think they're all pink, yeah. This guy's working. Who's not working? The LOD shader is not working. Is there a billboard? Speed tree billboard? Certainly don't want that. Billboard shader. I think standard cutout will work fine for him. I messed with these a little bit last night. Yeah, that looks fine. This preview looks terrible, but I suppose that's just because the you can't even see it. I got the cameras right over it. This there's a preview window down here. Looks gross, but that's the billboard that looks gross, which is LOD3 here. I suppose I should turn the smoothness down. That'll be better. Anyway. So I want to add those. Well, I don't really want to start with these little bushes. Well, maybe I do. Yeah, those do look good. There's 10 varieties of bushes. A dead bush and some dry grass, which is better off in Vegetation Studio. Probably a dead bush is too. think the rest of these will add as little stock dealies though. So let's do like we were just doing with the ferns, except now he's gonna be desert bush. Number 1, and how many of these are we gonna have? Ten. So first of all, medium decoration, only in the Badlands. Can go as high as they want. Spawn rate of something more like 20 maybe for now. We'll take a peek, see how it does. And I want 10 of them. Got a bunch of new cacti too. The cacti that I've been using, at least the big ones, the saguaro I think they're called. They're used in so many games because they're free. Unity gives them for free to everybody. I've even seen them in movies. They're high quality. They're cool looking, but see them all over the place. And honestly, I don't really like how they look. The LODs are really bad. They're speed trees. I'm just trying to get rid of all the speed trees in the game. I'm done with them. They've served their time. So bush 1, bush 2, bush 3. You can make really, really pretty, realistic trees with speed trees, but they're really performance intensive. Take a lot of work. I don't like their transitions at all. I'm not using their updated technology, yada yada yada. It's subscription based. It's a really complicated system. But they use them in movies and stuff. So, you know, I mean, they're really quality if you spend the time on them. Now, for all of these guys, we're going to want to add, let's see, we want to make sure they are on our resources layer first of all. We want to add a harvestable basic resource script to them. Set it to stock. The toughness was 1 on the rest of those. I should probably change all of those to be like that. Still got a bunch of rocks that are at 7, which is fine if you're in tier 1, tier 2. Tier 0, it's a little counterintuitive. Stock reward multiplier. Cannot be rare, is basic. So that will add a bunch of these little plants to the desert. Need to just plug them into the spawn manager. Down here, who is steadily growing. Desert bush. I want to churn the desert rocks down a little bit. Those are large decorations. Well, let's see. There they are. Desert big rock. These guys, actually. Spawn rate of 1, 1, and 1. Let's move them down to like 0.7. Because there's a lot of them out there. These are large decorations, but it doesn't matter. I don't think the system is set up to differentiate between those just yet. And so let's go ahead and try to get those cacti in. So there's shaders I have not yet updated. Cactus base. Do I really need a thorn shader? Base is probably fine as standard. No, maybe not. Well, not sure where that stuff went. The thorns are just going to be a cutout shader, no doubt. Looks like all of the materials got lost though. I'm looking at a Biznaga. Where is his materials? Oh, he does have them all set up. No, take it back. Oh, and that's the base. Whoops, I set that up wrong. This guy wants to be the cutout. This guy wants to be opaque. I don't think that's the cactus texture we're looking for though. No. This is under bushes anyway. Where is the... Probably down here. There we go. Sorry about that. Thorns. That's a different thorn, I guess. Biznaga thorns. There we go. Cutout. Base color. He's in there. Normal. Mask and thickness. I'm not sure what those are. Detail mask. Don't think that improved anything. Thickness. Could be a height map. But probably unnecessary. I guess we'll put him in there. More important, this base shader dealy here. What is he? Not the thorns. Cactus base. He is number 1. So yeah, here we go. Base color, height map, normal map. I don't think he's looking like he's supposed to. It looks like he needs to be tiled or something. He's got the little thorns on him himself. Boy, I wish I could not zoom in so fast. See, he's got that on there. That doesn't look right. Cactus base. That looks a little better. Cactus base 2. How about... It says cactus base 1 on it though. I mean, they are lined up right. It's just funny that it would draw the thorns on there as well. What's up, KZ? Doing good. A little confused why those are there, but not a big deal. We'll leave it as is, I guess. So there's number 1. Number 2 is... Oh, it looks like the billboards are broken. Again, this is all just set up for the high definition render pipeline, which I am not using. So just need to change the shaders being used here on these guys. All right. What's wrong with you? Thorn shader not working. Standard cutout. And where's your map? Let's give you your normal and height map as well. Those look cool. Might have to start damaging players for running into these, like 7 Days to Die. cactus 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 5 and 6 look the exact same. What is different here? The LODs are much different. 3 and 4 look the same. LODs are just about the same. 1 and 2 look the same. LODs are about the same. Not sure what's supposed to be different about those. Looks like they come in pairs of 2 for some reason. Just keep that in mind. And these guys are also, something's not working. Base 2, standard. Base 2, color. Height and normal. Probably turn the smoothness down a little bit. Let's see if I did that on here too. Smoothness down, I did. Base. Nopal shape. Haven't run into that yet. Don't know what... Oh, here they are. Nopal. Oh yeah, these are cool cacti. Nopal shape. Standard, please. Height map and normal map as well. Turn the smoothness down a little bit. Should be good. Okay, so we got a bunch of new cactuses. Oh, these aren't working. What's going on here? Something not working? Oh, looks fine. The preview isn't working, but... Yeah, these all look good. Okay. Again, I'm not sure what the point of having... 1 and 2 be pretty much the same here. Right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Seems like every other one is the same as the other one. Lead mobs into the cactus. Make a cactus pit. Plant cactus in a hole to murder mobs with. So I'm just going to delete every other one here because I don't see any difference and I don't want to just copy them in. So 2, 4, you're gone. 2, 4, and 6, you're gone. These guys are not duplicating for whatever reason. I'll go ahead and just rename them too. 3 is now 2. Unity loses focus every time you rename something. Super annoying. 3, 2, and 3. Okay, so now I'm going to go back to these guys, and currently they're spawning as trees. The barrel cacti aren't too bad, to be honest, but we want to get rid of the saguaro. 1, 2, 3. Let's go ahead and, well, let's see, they're spawning as trees right now. Am I going to spawn them as objects or trees? Honestly, objects are better. Honestly. Make sure we set up GPU instancing. Should be fine. Trees get some nice batching, but there's also a sharp hang when the terrain has to update the tree instance counts. Lunch already? What's going on? How is it noon? That's crazy. So I'm just going to call this Desert Cacti 01. And I'm going to get rid of these guys. And I believe that the barrel cacti are, yeah, these are also speed trees. So I'm just going to delete them as well. I'm not going to be using speed trees anymore. So Desert Cacti 01, you're now going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can't see what I'm looking at, sorry. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 new types of cacti. So I'll plug these in. We'll take a peek. And I should probably head to lunch. I'm running low on food in the house. Make a sandwich or something. These are all going to be medium decorations in the Badlands. Let's turn them down to like 5-ish. And we'll play with that after we take a peek at them. Not using tree colliders anymore. Tree spawn multiplier? Yeah, I guess so. No, because these are going to be basic resources. I'm not going to have any real trees in the desert. So, lock this window and plug in Biznaga. I like that name. Is that a real cactus name? Biznaga? Sounds Aztecan or something, I guess. Watch as I click and drag stuff. Nopal. I've been watching Alone. It's this survival series on the History Channel where 10 people try to survive in the Pacific Northwest, which is where I'm from. It's really funny because they're like, oh my god, these forests are so thick, it's crazy, I can't go back in there. And to me, it's like, that's just what the forest looks like. What's the deal? Don't get me wrong, it's difficult. You know, it's way harder than surviving in like California or something like that. But it's been pretty funny to see people freak out. They're like, there's animals here. I'm tapping out. It's like, well, yeah, of course there's animals. It's Pacific Northwest. What did you think? But it's been an interesting series. I'm on season 2. So these guys should be spawning. They do have colliders on them. They're mesh colliders, which is dumb. That is just stupid. Why would you do that? That is a sphere collider, no matter how you look at it. But I'm actually pretty hungry. I'm just gonna, let's see, we want to plug those into the manager, and let's give it a look at. Yeah, the Pacific Northwest is really, really wet. And like if your feet get wet for more than like 8 hours, you get jungle rot and your feet just hurt like for hours until you get them dry for hours. You know, and it can rain for weeks on end, so it's not a really nice environment to survive in. But it's just funny to see people from like, you know, Florida or whatever react to it, and they're like, I can't go back in there, you know. And it's like, it's just a forest. There's ferns, there's fallen logs. It all just looks super normal to me. But there are bears and cougars and wolves, you know. So it's real. But as long as you make noise and you don't leave food just laying around, they don't come near you. They don't like to mess with people. So I need to plug these in, lock this. I got rid of the old cacti, so I'm going to want to turn them off. Remove them. And here's our new cacti. These aren't trees, actually. We're going to be adding them as decorations now. And let's take a look and see how that all works. I'm going to have to fix those colliders and mess with the LODs of the mountain rocks for sure, as well as the desert cacti. Probably, they actually had a lot of good, they looked pretty good. You don't want them to cull until like 2 or 3%. Some games will put them up to like 8 or 10, and then you can really visibly see stuff turning on and off. But so forest's got a lot of stuff in it. Or what is it, mountains? Still need to work on the mountain grass quite a bit, I think. And this is just Unity being a butt because I haven't rebooted it in so long. Desert. Thank you to Battle Stew for making all of these Solaces everywhere. So I turned the rocks down a little bit. That's very visible. Nowhere near as many cacti as I want. And these guys are, that's a billboard already at this stage, so that's too close. They're very tiny. I think everything's too tiny out here. And these guys look way too smooth. Or their thorn shader isn't working properly, maybe. Let's not draw on a back face for starters. That's no good. I think I'll have to use the leaf shader. I think it looks a little bright. Not enough. And too small. So let's turn everything up a little bit, and then especially, I don't know which one are the biznagas. Okay, these are the barrel cacti, the little guys. The big ones are the tall cacti, so the further down we go there, the bigger they get. So I'm going to turn the first three here, which are the little barrel cacti. I want to turn these up a lot. And I think I'll turn the bushes up even more. Or not more than that, but a little more than 8. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. The rest of those look pretty good. Let me go back to the... These are... Go back to their thorn shaders, and let's change these to the Nature Manufacturer leaf shader. That's going to give them wind, though, isn't it? Let me open that up. I don't want any wind on them at all. Can I turn that off completely, please? Zero. No, it didn't work. How about 0.00? You know, they can move a little bit. It's not a problem, but I don't actually want them to... Yeah, there we go. Initial bend 0, stiffness 50. And we want to do that for the rest of these as well. Can I copy those settings? I don't think so. Yeah, I don't think so. Biznaga thorns, though, we want you to be the same. Initial bend 0, stiffness 50, wind drag 0.001, 000. For the thorns, that should be good. Again, these are all a little bright. I think I'm going to change these guys to the Nature Manufacturer bark shaders as well, because those do look pretty good. And oh, I was expecting well, let's see here, what are we looking at? Nopal. You're a little bright. Let's turn... No. The Nopal color, I want to turn it down just a little bit. Initial bend 0, stiffness 50, wind drag 0.001. We want those to match up with our thorn settings. 3 zeros actually in there. GPU instancing enabled. Let's do the same for these other two. Super exciting stuff, I'm sure. My apologies. Just turn down a little bit. Turn the wind down 0.50, 0.001. Save. Likewise. Turn it down just a little bit. Initial bend 0, stiffness 50, 0.001 for the drag. I'll leave the billboard. Oh, that does not look correct. What's going on here? Cactus billboard. Shifts from this to this. That's not looking good. Oh, it's just not rendering the back side of it, huh? Alright, let's try the leaf shader. There we go. Just need to turn that wind off, more or less. And that looks better. And then we wanted to scale all of those up a little bit, right? So let's put the barrel cacti. We don't want the barrel cacti to be too much bigger, probably. And these colliders too, that's just silly. And I didn't change their... haven't made them interactable yet. Anyway, this is just wrong. Don't need that. Don't need this whole item, in fact. Let's just add a... well, we can add it to LOD 0. Sphere collider. Unity's smart enough to more or less figure it out for us. Good. Number 2 doesn't even have a collider. That's interesting. Again, it's usually good at figuring stuff out. I'll make these triggers as well, so you can technically run through them, because you could step over them. They're small enough. This one, likewise, doesn't have a collider for whatever reason. That's a little big. Turn them down to like that. Trigger. I'm going to back out and make all of these be on the resources layer before I forget about it. This guy, that's a whole bunch of colliders there too. That's a little silly. Could make that one big convex. Yeah, that's pretty good actually, I guess. And this guy's not going to be a trigger, so we'll leave that as is. Not real sure why that's a separate object, but not a big deal. Same with you. convex trigger. No, you're not a trigger, sorry. Colliders are what you run into for the physics system. So if the player's got a collider on him, and if the player collider hits something else, it stops. So rendering and physics are actually completely separated systems. If I don't have a collider here, or if I turn this off, it's just rendering. The physics is not going to have any understanding of this being here at all. So they're completely different mathematical systems for the camera and then the movement physics. And if I make it convex here, which you can just barely see there, it finds all of the extreme outer points and just uses that to make this sort of blob and blends it all together, and it's way, way, way faster to process math for figuring out if something hit this or not than it is for trying to look inside of all of these nooks and crannies. So you want to use, you don't want to use mesh colliders, basically. The other way to do this would be just add like a capsule collider. And this is called a primitive collider. There's capsule, sphere, and let's go ahead and do that because this is just fine shape for that. Sphere, cube, and capsule, and see how Unity will try and adjust it to meet the outline of the mesh that's being used. And that's plenty good. So you can't see the collider, but if the mouse, if you're targeting somewhere like right here, it'll hit the collider. You don't need it to be specific at all in cases like this. If you're doing like a game that's based on like hitboxes for swinging an axe or something like that, sometimes you want more complicated stuff, but not at all important in this case. This guy too, I'm going to get rid of that and just go straight for the capsule collider. That's plenty. These guys too, I think, will do just fine with a capsule collider. And see, like, I won't be able to stand on this because this is here invisibly. But who's going to be trying to do that? You gain performance and you lose almost nothing. So this is the way to go. It's very nice that Unity is good at trying to match things up for me. This is not capsule shaped. This would probably be, doesn't even have anything on him. This will probably work good as a box collider though, because he's pretty flat. And I'm just going to scale that down a little bit because we don't need it to go all the way to the edges necessarily. You're probably going to be aiming somewhere like right here if you're trying to interact with it. So if you try to shoot an arrow through here, it won't work. You getting stuck in the rocks? Is that what's going on, John? And one way to cope with that truth would be to make multiple box colliders. So I could do like one encompassing this, and then one encompassing this, and then one encompassing this. And that would still be way, 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 way faster than using a mesh collider. But not important. This is just a little too big. I don't want people running into that kind of stuff. Doesn't need to be an exact match by any means. Something about like that. Let's go ahead and do a capsule with this guy too. Tone it down a bit, move it over here. Yeah, I think that's fine. Variety 3, this guy looks like a capsulider too. See what I did there? I combined capsule and collider into a single word called a capsulider. because language is supposed to be my strong suit. And that's a little, he's pretty flat actually. Let's go with the box for this guy. And I was supposed to be scaling these guys up a little bit as I go through them here, which I have not been doing. I'll do a second pass for that. These guys definitely don't need that. Capsule collider would be just fine. And okay, we scaled that guy up a little. Let's scale this guy up a little. Let's scale this guy up a little. 2 is a pretty big number for everything, but let's try it out. So these are all children objects. See, there's one parent object that you can't really see, but I'm changing the children. So when we spawn it in game, we set this to be 0.1 to 1.2. So we don't want to be changing this because that's going to get changed in runtime. But the children we aren't going to be directly affecting. So how did I miss this one? Missed this guy somehow. Capsule glider. Just fine. And let's double his size. It's gonna make for big cacti, but I think that's a lot more interesting than small cacti. And we'll take a peek, see what we've got. And I'm probably gonna go make some pasta because my wife is here. She's not as big of a fan of sandwiches as I am. We did up the spawn rate as well. So these should all now be interactable, bigger, better colored, and more abundant. I could be for a few hours. I'm just going to be plugging in fog and cloud math, I think. We're heading over to my wife's parents at the end of the day. Maybe a little too dark. Those thorns are way too thick. Still a little bright. They're like, That's that guy over there, and the barrel cacti. I guess I'll leave them at white. I might want a little yellow or something. They just look a little too green, or I might have to go in and edit these, sort of desaturate these textures that they're using a little bit. The one I'm looking at here must be number 2. Yeah, I guess. Well, that's kind of not a bad color there. Just give it a little more red. Blends in with the lighting a little better there. Let's try that. How about I just copy that? I usually don't stream, if I stream at all, post. That does look a little better. Post noon, just because most people in the world are asleep. Maybe I'll just leave that as is. It's using that for the thorns even on the billboard shader. Not a big deal though. Nopal shape. Where are the nopals? I'm not seeing any nopals. So I think still everything wants to be churned up a little bit. And yeah, the LODs are just popping too early. Can't see anything out here. Oh, there's a nopal. He's too tiny. I mean, right? He doesn't, well, maybe I made him too big. He's not interactable with. None of these are. I didn't add basic resource script onto them, did I? Lots of cacti, though. I think I just want a lot more of these little barrel guys. And maybe a little less of the bigger guys. And I'm starving in game, not in reality. And then more ground clutter. This grass is just not cutting it. These little wisps here are gross. But we got more stuff to plug in. That was just the textures, or the cacti. And I'm gonna die. Did we add? We did add the bushes in. These probably need to be churned up quite a bit, don't they? I've still got them in trees. Let's move them to decorations. Desert bush. Where did desert? Oh, there they are. Well, these are still marked as D, huh? That's a pain. See how I lose focus every time I click on something? It's little things like that that make it more difficult. I would like to do F2, down arrow, home key, shift D, enter, rather than the mouse. I just think the keyboard's a lot faster if you can stick to it. Just do a repetition of keys rather than trying to aim the mouse over time. I do need to now go and clean those speed trees out of the project because they're still downloading. The game download went up to 5 gigabytes with the last patch, but it's actually got a bunch of stuff in it that's not being used anymore. So I need to go and clean this project up a bit too. These guys are set to spawn rate 1. That's just, oops. Oh no, they are at spawn rate 20. I think it's mostly their LODs are not quite how they should be, or maybe they should all be scaled up a little too. Wasn't really noticing many of these. Let's scale him up. This stuff gets a little monotonous. You can go crazy pretty quick. But there's not a whole lot of ways around it. I could probably write an editor script to go through and do this for me if I really wanted to. Give it a folder name, but you know, take time to write that. It'd probably end up causing a lot of problems. I'd be working on debugging it and fixing up mistakes that it made, and Bob's your uncle. And I'm pretty hungry, so I gotta go get some food. But push comes to shove, I will patch this stuff in tonight so we can at least all get a look at it, and I can get some report back, hopefully, as to that all looks a little too green. I do like the little bushes, but I might change this ground texture too. It's a little red. A little too green, a little too sharp on the LODs there. Yeah, I need to churn those billboard materials down a bit. Alpha cutoff needs to go up. I wouldn't hope that much, but let's try and give you a little bit of red too. That does look a little better, doesn't it? FFCCCCC. We'll apply that to you as well. And are you missing your back faces or anything weird like that? You are, aren't you? Hard to tell from here. But yes, I think you are. Let's change you to the leaf shader as well. And we need to turn all of that stuff off. Wind drag 0, or maybe not 0, but definitely a lot less. And white for you, a little bit of red for you. That looks better. Still could probably use a lot more of those little bushes. A little too red, I think, on the bushes. Yeah, it's more interesting, definitely. You can run through the barrel cacti. That's kind of why I want to add a lot more of those than the bigger ones. And these bush LODs are popping too much, definitely. But I think that cactus just disappeared too, didn't it? Yeah, see how that one's popping out right there? Need to turn all of those up a little bit. I'm dying again, but looking better, moving in the right direction. We'll get some more grass going. I should get those guys to align to ground when they die too. That would look a lot better. Let's take a quick test run at that. So this guy's chasing me. I could align the model even while he is fighting me, and then he dies, and nope, align to normal is what I wanted, wasn't it? That triggers, okay, I would have to consider his facing direction, but then he would at least not be clipping into the ground quite so much. I'll write a script for that. I'm going to write that down, actually. because I do hate it when they die and they animate falling into the ground like that. Align to normal animals on death. / always question mark. Okay, I need to reboot Unity because it's giving me all these errors that it shouldn't. And I'm gonna go get some lunch. So that's what I'm working on anyway. Didn't get to the ocean biome. I bought a bunch of coral and fish and stuff too, and that's really colorful and should be fun now that we've got the breathing potions. So I haven't messed with that yet. But that will also be interesting. Get all this sorted out. Should be able to take some really nice screenshots. That's kind of the goal here. Make a new video, get some nice screenshots. Write up a little story about myself. Try to get a new group. Well, my wife has beat me to the kitchen. I better go quick. She's going to make a mess. Don't tell her I said that. But yeah, that's kind of the goal going on right now. Working on colors and imagery, and then we'll get the character controller and animations and stuff working better too, because I know fighting is a common thing. Fighting and the harvesting animations especially, you know, they're just not up to par. So we need to spend some time on those next week. Thanks for stopping by, KZ, John, and Stopnut and Jack. Always glad to see people in chat. Keeps me going. New follow from PC Guy. Thank you for that.